Hello, and welcome to Historical Fiction with Kviatoslav. Although reading historical fiction books is probably my favorite passion, I do enjoy a good historical film now and then. So I thought today I might go over a few historical films that I have seen and enjoyed. Chances are many of these recommendations might be known to people who are familiar with historical films there, but I just thought I'd go over a few that I actually own or I enjoy enough to have purchased a copy of them, and I've tried to include a few different genres here of historical fiction type films as well. The first one that I'd like to discuss is in English is called The 13th Warrior. The main actor is Antonio Banderas, and this film is set in about the year, I want to say about 921 or so. And it's actually about an actual historical figure, Ahmed ibn Faldan, there, who was a traveler from, I want to say Baghdad, who went through the Viking Rus. He traveled as an ambassador to the Viking Rus, and he gave us quite a lot of the knowledge that we've got about Vikings through his writings there. Now, this is a fictionalized story of his journeys, but the beginning half really does try to cover a lot of what he saw there in terms of they show Viking funeral and so on. And eventually he is recruited as a 13th warrior who must be not be a Northman to go to the north to deal with a problem led by a warrior named Bulvaif, who's played by an excellent Czech actor named Vladimir Kulic. And I think this film really captures the spirit of the Viking Age there. So I would give it a highly recommended. It does have some historical inaccuracies there, and it's not a perfect film by any means, but it is definitely one of the best Viking films ever made there. I also wanted to discuss the film Once Upon a Time in America, a Sergio Leone film there, which is probably my favorite bit of historical gangster fiction, which follows four Jewish boys growing up in New York in the turn of the 20th century there, and how they join together and basically become a gang of gangsters, and it's filled with lots of betrayals and so on. The film is very long, but it's praised for its historical accuracy there. It is a difficult film because the main character, played by Robert De Niro, is not a particularly likable character there, but I do enjoy a film where these are gangsters. They would not be nice people there, so or heroic people. So that's another one that I would give a recommend to. Another film that I'll give a recommend to, which is it's a film. It's a controversial film there called Kingdom of Heaven, which is set in the Crusader Kingdom of Outremer. There, I do enjoy the film quite a bit. There, it does have some serious problems there. Um, but I would highly recommend getting the director's cut by Ridley Scott, which is actually much better than the theatrical release there. And I enjoyed the film enough to purchase, a complicated a multi disc set there. I said it does have some drawbacks, but basically it follows a character named Balian of Ibelin, who was an actual historical character, although it fictionalizes his life, making him a French exile rather than a European born in the Kingdom of Jerusalem there, and has a number of historical characters involved, particularly Salah there. Now, it does take a very, I would say, sympathetic view of the Saracens of the Islamic side, and a very dire view of the European Crusaders there, which I would say it's fairly one-sided, but in the context in which it was made in about 2004, and at that time that was when tensions were quite high and people didn't want to show show a negative side of the Islamic religion there. But I do particularly like this film, particularly the first fight, which is set in France there, and the journey, and it has a lot of good scenes and some particularly good soundtrack. So I would recommend it there. Um, Along with that film, I would also recommend. This is kind of my east meets west recommendation. Try not to get it reflect too much there from the light, but this one is called The Last Samurai, which was starring Tom Cruise there, and it's also set in actual historical Edo period there when the samurai were being overrun, and it shows a real clash of cultures as Tom Cruise plays this, who's based on an actual historical Frenchman who was employed to teach, the samurai, the westernized emperor's forces a way to combat the samurai there. And I say it's quite a good film. There it is a very Hollywood film, but overall, I would give it a nice recommendation. In terms of comedy, historical comedy, I really enjoyed this one quite a lot. It's called Eric the Viking, which is more of a mythological setting, but it's a really excellent Monty Python film. Well, at least by Terry Jones of Monty Python, not an actual Monty Python film. And it really draws upon the legends, or Norse legends, with journeys to High Brazil and to Asgard and so on. And it's made by someone who really, really enjoys the Norse era and Viking age, and obviously has a great deal of knowledge about it in order to include all of the things that he did. Like I said, it's a good comedic take on the era there. Whereas in terms of, say, children's historical films, this is probably my favorite, which is a film called The Secret Garden there, which is based on a novel for children. And it's a really nice film. It's a well acted film with good child actors, and it's a really nice story. It's one that I don't have any problem showing my children. I don't think there are anything you should be afraid of showing the children. I think it's a really excellent overall film. They're highly recommended for kids there. And probably my final recommendation here is probably my favorite historical film, which is a little bit different from some of the others. It's a film by Stanley Kubrick called Barry Lyndon, which was filmed in the 1970s, but it's set in Europe in the late 1700s, during the Seven Years' War, and it follows a young Irishman who sets off to make his fortune. And I would say it's probably visually the most historically accurate film ever made. You'll find lots of YouTube videos detailing how well done this film is. Basically, Kubrick tried to make the film look like paintings of the period. He even invented a special camera in order to film scenes. The accuracy level on this film is unprecedented, really, and it's certainly the most, I would say, historically accurate film in terms of the costumes, in terms of the settings and everything else. And it's just a joy to watch. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I understand that for some people the pacing is a bit off, and the main character is something of a difficult character to make up your mind, in that he's not good, he's not bad, but it's an excellent film, and I do give it a higher recommendation to anyone who enjoys historical fiction, particularly if you're a fan of kind of the slow burn of historical fiction there. So these are just a few recommendations that I wanted to make in terms of historical films. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.